Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We want to thank our newest patron.
Yes, a huge thank you to Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and welcome to the Patreon family. Again, this was our exclusive over there yesterday morning, 22 hours ago. So much is happening. It's crazy what's going on. And again, you can join the Patreon family for as little as $1 a month at this point. 90 cents basically a month when you pay for a year in advance and get exclusive videos every week. And so here we go. North Stonington, Connecticut. The 9/11 Center is receiving a report from a caller that an unknown drone is landing near solar plant field and sucking up power. Isn't this curious? According to the caller, an individual named Lisa, the drone was reportedly landing near an open solar panel plant field and appeared to be drawing power directly from the facility. Isn't this very curious? Even maybe more curious is a real-time radiation world map showing elevated radiation levels right now in Waterbury, Connecticut. Not too far from Stonington area, which is more heading east. Here you also see New York elevated levels as well, 222 and 278 CPM, which at the moment is a decrease from what it was before. Here you could see some numbers that were screenshots previously taken. And when we look at this elevation here, it is certainly curious when we have the thought out there that so many of the drones are nuclear sniffing drones of the military looking for something that perhaps is radiological. Here you see a 461 reading, not too far from Sheepshead Bay, Brighton Beach area. This is absolutely concerning and curious. So when you look at how much CPM is dangerous, the numbers that we're seeing here would be a concern if you were exposed to them for a very long time. They would definitely increase the chance of cancer, according to these sources here. This is from Modern Survival blog. Days compared to average human exposure at 207 days at 100 CPM. So we're seeing much more than that. 42 at 500 CPM, 14 at 1500, and 2 days at 10,000 CPM. So what are we seeing? We saw 461 here, 222, 278. This is changing. This is fluid. You can see these numbers are starting with a 4 previously, and this is the current map. 378 is the highest reading we see up in Waterbury at this time. Very curious. And does this lend credence to that theory that the drones are looking for something radiological? Is there somebody trying to place something like, we've heard of dirty bombs? Is there something like that going on? Or is this something totally different? Is this something that, maybe is an increase due to something being turned up, like a dial being turned up, if you know what I mean? F period, I period, V period, E period, and I'll just leave it at that. So, radiation levels rising in New York City. Well, currently they look to be dropping, but they were higher previously. And then again, that drone situation, not too far away in Stonington again, North Stonington, Connecticut. Very, very curious to say the least.
Definitely curious. So we're keeping an eye on that. A lot of things coming to the surface. A lot of different viewpoints on what's going on, but to me, it does lead credence as to why they're there. However, like Mike said, with that spelling and the number 5 and the letters behind it, we got to keep an eye on those too.
It's interesting. Here you have what some are saying an orb that literally transforms into a drone or somehow gives birth to a drone, or a drone uses the orb as a portal. What's really going on here?
I know. So you can watch this whole video. It's kind of cool. I'm even still, I have my own cognitive dissonance going on. I look at this, and I think my problem is if I let myself go into this thing that we have going on, and I know that there's good and there's bad and there's mediocre ones out there. But the fact is we don't seem to have any control over what is coming into our space. I think that's probably my own trauma, but I think a lot of people have problems with things coming into their space, and they have no answers and they have no control over it. So yeah, this is really interesting. I think a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, because a lot of other people are just like, oh, you guys, it's just our government. That's all it is. It's just Project Bluebeam. It's just this and it's just that. But this is a lot more.
As you were saying, I think the word, 2 words, it's a phrase, cognitive dissonance. There are people that cannot handle this.
No, they can't.
They can't handle this. So they got to keep saying to themselves, this is just ours. This is just ours.
Yeah.
This is just Bluebeam. This is just Bluebeam. They're trying to talk themselves down off the ledge because they're terrified of coming to the realization that humans are not the apex predator on the planet.
And that's a really big deal. That's a huge deal. Now, many of us you guys who are listening, we've already come to that conclusion. We already know, but there's still this other layer that's going on. And I think many who are sensitives are picking up on other people's just sheer fear because of this. I mean, the cognitive dissonance is really a big deal. And it's about people just shutting the door and saying, this is it. This is all I'm going to believe, because that's what their human soul right now, and it could very well be their higher self, is helping them, stay sane. So this is a crazy time. We should have a lot of compassion. Sorry, dear.
Yes, absolutely. I do think that it could be mind-blowing, especially depending on your paradigm. If you only believe that we are it and there's nothing else but angels, demons, and a creator being, this could definitely shake the very foundations of your existence. Or if you're an atheist and you think there's nothing, there's just nothing. And, we're too far away from any other habitable planets. You believe that end of the science. And there's no way anybody else could be here, then you're probably shaken too, especially if you don't believe in an afterlife or don't believe that we are eternal consciousness. This is Phoenix, Arizona. There's so many cases. This is going to an all new level, obviously. We do think that this is multifaceted. I don't think you could just slap one label on it. And if you're slapping one label, then I think you're really doing that because you're terrified, is basically what the situation is. There's some weird stuff going on. This footage is, again, coming from all over the world. And so if we think it's all just United States military, well, the United States military in 2017, the last year I saw the official stats on it, was in 90% of the countries of the world. And it has been used as basically the military police force of, let's say, the control system, so to speak. So, yeah, to a degree, but do you think these are all just U.S. military drones? I think there's different things going on. There's some things that look very, very different than others. This is in South Carolina, Inman, South Carolina. There's so many of these, literally we could just be constantly putting up a new one. There's that much coming in. When we saw the results of going way back to Orson Welles that did the War of the Worlds broadcast, when people thought that was real, they didn't realize it wasn't real. It was just a story. There were people that literally were jumping off bridges and buildings. So, yeah, this is much bigger than that, much bigger. because this is something in which how many people have seen these things? Are we talking millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions? Meanwhile, we do have a very real war going on, and here you see 2 Russian oil tankers sinking in the Black Sea. Why? Well, rough weather and waves. Really? Again, then that gets us thinking of controlling the weather. The United States military is on record, and China is on record, both of them, of saying we need to control the weather. Guess what year? 2025. Is there any coincidences to that? No. It's all coming out at this point in time. Meanwhile, Putin's troops in coalition with North Korea storming positions and starting to surge in numbers. Ukraine is about to be washed over in the bigger picture. And what's going on right now in Syria is part of that bigger war at the same time. If you're losing on one front, then absolutely try to get them to move and divert forces to another area. But they're not doing it. Why are they not doing it? So let me explain that a little bit more. Again, you saw Assad retreat. Russia has a extremely key military base right there on the Mediterranean in Syria that they abandoned. They just left it. The ships left it. This is a very, very valuable base. Why in the world would they do that? It doesn't make any sense unless it's part of a bigger plan. Like they have a much bigger move planned. And if you are going to give up your only base in the Mediterranean under wartime conditions, it must be a huge move. It must be something really big. And it probably involves a more direct strike or direct confrontation. This is just my take on it, again, as somebody that's just kind of an avid historian, and especially when it comes to military history going all the way back to Hannibal and Rome, and even before that. It's just something that's always fascinated me. Why in the world would they abandon it? There has to be something far more important and bigger that they don't want interrupted. Maybe it has something to do with what we're seeing now in the skies over the U.S.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and then I am watching how uniform the mainstream has become. So we know that the mainstream has their own plans here. But I do think that there's other beings out there who are helping us in a very important way. But you can usually tell things are planned when the mainstream, they just sort of start telling the same story, and that's what we're seeing out of them. But there is no denying, if you look outside of the story of mainstream, that things are very, very different, and they are very scattered, and it really feels like there's beings out there who are helping us right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we shouldn't always be afraid of things that we're unfamiliar with. Feel into the energies and discern for yourself. And again, people take these times with in different manners. You have those that view things like, eat, drink, and be merry. Okay, well, eat carefully, organic food only. I wouldn't be intoxicated in these times. You should be sharp and clear. You should be working on building that mind-body spirit connection. Again, it's part of our personal daily religious, you could call it. Yes, we are religious when it comes to our spiritual practice. But it's a spiritual practice, and the difference is that it's not necessarily dogmatic in that it's personalized, and it's what we feel like doing. It's what we resonate with, and everybody has to find that for themselves. They say there's no atheists in foxholes, And, we know that we are eternal consciousness. We have no doubts about that. We've had our own direct experiences. The Gnostics called that gnosis. And there's a big difference between memorizing dogma that somebody else has created and having a spiritual experience for yourself that literally changes your perspective. These times are going to change our perspectives. They're going to try us. And that's why we're here, really. We're here to learn, to grow, and to test ourselves in more ways than one.
Indeed.
Again, guys, thank you for your support. We couldn't do it without you guys. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.